So today I'm here with Robin Bennett, and Robin is with Start Software. He's been developing for quite some time with Alpha. We're just really going to talk about his whole development team and what he's building with Alpha Anywhere, and sort of his experience with everything. So, Robin, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Start Software and what you guys are up to?
Sure. So Start Software, we're a software company with offices in the UK and Australia. Most of our developers are here in the UK, but we do have developers in the US and also in Indonesia. We've been using Alpha for, I was trying to work it out, Bob. I think it's 10 years nearly. I think it is. I think probably since V11.
So what?
Which I guess was
like
2011.
2011-ish, right?
Yeah, 11-ish. Yeah, something like that. Previous to that, we were a Microsoft shop. So we developed in VB and Microsoft Access prior to getting into Alpha. And I think from memory, I think what caused us to change was the need to develop applications for the web and for mobile. And I went to see the launch of V11 down at Heathrow Airport in London. Selwyn and Richard Rabins came over and did the launch from memory. And I came back and told the guys that this was the product that we could switch to. Our customers really wanted web and mobile. So yeah, back about 10 years ago, this was really becoming the thing of interest. And Microsoft products just weren't good enough. And we sort of jumped ship. We went for it. We went from being quite a traditional Microsoft shop to doing most things in Alpha. And the last few years, it's been everything in Alpha.
Yeah, it's a leap of faith, I think, for every developer, no matter what you're looking at as a development tool for your team. It's so hard to make that decision in terms of, I want to invest the time and it's worth it. And I'm not going to run to a brick wall somewhere down the line. I know
it's huge, isn't it?
Alpha is a low code, considered a low code development environment. But I like to code, and developers I know like to code. So
absolutely, I'll tell that to guys here who write code all day, every day. Yeah, they'll enjoy that. No, I mean that is the joy of the product, though, isn't it? It can be low code or no code. It can be seriously heavyweight code. I mean, it can be anywhere from one extreme to the other. And certainly, a lot of our developers here enjoy the process of coding. So yeah, it's I think that's a big strength of Alpha Anywhere, how varied it can be for different types of developer.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I'm not sure that we get that message across in our marketing materials. I think it's always stressed that it's low code, but in fact, most developers really enjoy coding. To me, it's an art form.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it, and I love the fact that I can pretty much build anything I can imagine in Alpha, talking to any APIs I want, or now, of course, with the server side stuff, now supporting, we're moving to support Python server side, Node.js server side, and of course we have XBasic, which you can do an awful lot with. That's really, I think it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's really getting the guys here excited, actually. The Python stuff and the Node.js, as you say, that's something they're really interested in. A big change for us, actually, the last few years is how much JavaScript we're writing now that we didn't before. So I think as we've got to understand the environment better over the years, because it's a complex environment, isn't it? Browser-based development. There's a lot going on. So the more you put into it, the more you get out of it, for sure.
Yeah, and for sure, I think now with all the APIs that are available, we can pull in JSON data from pretty much anywhere. And you could literally build a very, very robust application and never even talk to the Alpha server. You could log in and there you go. So there's an awful lot that you can do just by calling out to different APIs. So, I mean, in terms of if we were to think about Alpha Software as a company and your relationship with the company, I think that one of the other key things that Alpha offers is we try really, really hard to support developers like you. We listen to everything and we try to be very, very responsive. Can you just talk to me a little bit about, your sort of experience with that?
Yeah, and that was the key difference, actually, switching from Microsoft to you guys. I had a good relationship with Microsoft. I used to do presentations for them at their Microsoft HQ over here in the UK, to do with Access in particular. But trying to have a conversation with the development team or trying to steer where the development team went was just a no-go. It was hopeless. The thing that we do get with Alpha is we get direct contact with the Alpha developers. We know you by name. We know we have sort of direct contact. We feel we can influence the product. And as you say, if we raise a bug or a feature request, then we're confident that we're going to get some response. So that's been a crucial difference. And it's certainly, I mean, it's no exaggeration to say that we've put a feature request in one day and seen it in the next day's nightly build. I mean, that does happen. There's some challenges to that as well, that direct contact. Sometimes, you know, the lack of filter between my guys and the Alpha guys can sometimes cause us to trip up because change can happen so quickly. So there is a downside to that contact, but almost all positive because it's such a responsive relationship that we've got.
Yeah, I mean, Alpha is a complex product. It, you know, when we make a change in one area, we've got to think, oh, what's the impact over here? And often it's hard to actually envision everything that you guys are doing, because all of our developers are just super creative in the things they're doing, and so it's hard for us in some cases to imagine, you know, exactly what you're doing and how our changes are going to impact your code and so on. So it's tricky business, you know.
It is, and I think, yeah, we're well aware of that. The complexity of the product is, and the width and breadth of the product is huge. So yeah, we don't expect miracles, but the direct contact we have and the immediate feedback is such a breath of fresh air, you know, in this industry, because it just doesn't happen normally.
And now in terms of your backends, your database, you typically use SQL Server?
Yeah, almost always SQL Server. A little bit of MySQL, a little bit of NoSQL these days, Mongo in particular we're getting into. But almost everything is deployed on SQL Server. We were never a MySQL shop. You know, we pretty much went from Access backends or other backends back in the day to SQL Server, and that works really well for us. It's a great product, SQL Server.
Do you guys use a lot of like stored procedures and so on with SQL Server? I used
to
do a lot of that.
Yeah, we do. We do it in the more complex applications where there's obviously server-side intensive processing going on. Most of our guys are TSQL proficient and enjoy writing code for stored procedures, but you don't have to do that. I mean, it's most people interacting with Alpha and SQL Server, I guess, wouldn't be doing much stored procedure work, but it's very beneficial if you know what you're doing. We used to write a lot of triggers until we realized how lethal triggers are in almost every circumstance. They seem like a quick fix for a lot of problems and then cause you horrendous problems down the line. But we do know we make heavy use of stored procedures. We also wrap our processes in source control systems, which we also put the SQL through actually now. So we version control our SQL databases and our stored procedures just like we do our Alpha code. Perhaps we'll touch on that later. But over the years, we've got quite a sophisticated process going now for developers. So we're possibly at the more formal process-driven end of Alpha development, I guess, compared to some people. And that's because as we've grown, because, you know, we're quite a reasonably big company now, sort of 10, 12 developers most of the time. As we've grown, we've needed to be able to bring developers on board and explain our process so that everybody works in the same way.
So do you, when you bring a new developer on board, do you have a specific coding style that you guys have all agreed upon, and that you, when you bring a new developer on, you introduce them to that style and so on?
We do. We've got a set of standards that we've developed up for things like SQL tables and field names and how we code in Alpha. More importantly, though, Bob, actually is actually how we handle our source code. So we have a conversation that runs between the developers and the customers, and we use a product for that called Pivotal Tracker. That's a really cool product for capturing ideas from users and giving them feedback. Up to this point, we've used Subversion as our source control system, but we're now switching to Git, just for a number of reasons, not least its integration with Alpha. And so, yeah, we've got a whole sort of process that goes around how we build our products, including weekly video summaries for our clients and things. And we have to get everybody working in the same way. We're just taking on board actually 2 or 3, I think it might be 3 new contractors who are starting next week. And probably half a day or a day's worth of work from me is going to be bringing them up to speed in how we put things together. And sometimes we get a bit of pushback. Sometimes contractors, developers, they're sort of saying, well, I don't normally work that way. But we find that we have to, it's one of those things that in order to be productive and not trip ourselves up, we all have to be working quite a structured way.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really critical. Let me just see. Yeah, I was wondering if, Alpha generates an awful lot of code as we start building out these different components and so on. I know that when I first got involved with Alpha, I was a developer building applications primarily for a very high-end home construction business. And we had our own custom wood shop. We built all our own cabinetry and so on. We were building houses in the $5 to $10 million range here in the US. And the owner was traveling quite a bit, so he needed a system to be able to track all his projects, to keep track of all the approvals and who was on site, and there's so much to it, as I'm sure you can imagine. And I built that whole system in Alpha, and it proved to be really, really awesome. It was a good experience for me. But one thing that I found was that Alpha never got in my way, and that was something I was really worried about. I mean, so many systems that I've looked at have just get in my way, and it's one of the things that I used to program a lot in Delphi. And, I mean, I loved Turbo Pascal back in the
I remember that.
Then I did a lot of work in Delphi, and I really liked it because I could again do anything with that. It was really, really nice. And I sort of found that same thing with Alpha, I think.
No, I think you're right. I think that's exactly it. I'm a lazy coder at heart. I think most programmers have got a laziness gene in them. That's the way I think. If you can copy code and reuse it, and copy components and reuse it, and the bit that I suppose my background is not that dissimilar to yours in some respects. I mean, I did a bit of Turbo Pascal. I used to do a lot of. There was a product called Superbase, which goes back a long way, but that was like a basic plus database development environment, then Microsoft Access, and then all sorts of other stuff. But yeah, like I say, Alpha's working in a complex environment. The browser environment is complicated. You've got the server end, you've got the client end, you've got communication that's happening, you've got asynchronous communication that's happening.
Yes.
But what you don't want to spend, so that's an interesting environment to work in as a developer, I think, a very interesting environment. What you don't want to be doing, what I certainly don't want to be doing, is writing boring code to do the same thing over and over, to bring back some records from a database, to present them in a way on a screen, to enable a search part of the screen to search that data, to export that data to Excel, all the stuff that users expect to be there. I don't want to be writing that code to do that. I want something that's going to do that heavy lifting for me. But I don't, as you say, I don't want the product to get in the way of one of my guys that needs to write a whole load of JavaScript to do something, or call out to some API to do something, or to do something in SQL Server that's really unusual or complex. So you need, and Alpha is really good at that. So Alpha, I think one of its key strengths is that it does that heavy lifting for you. It's got all the basics in there. You can do some incredibly complicated stuff with just one checkbox. I love the new features when they appear. That's one checkbox in the properties, and wow, there's a whole new world has just opened up, but it doesn't stop you, as you say, it doesn't stop you getting under the hood. It doesn't stop you writing the code where you need to. And the number of events that get put into all of the new components and controls is fantastic. So you can tap in at every point that you need to. But it does mean it's a complex environment if you want it to be, which is fun and rewarding. And it means you can build some things that are really cool with where you're only really focusing on the code that you need to focus on. The boring stuff, the repetitive stuff is actually done for you by Alpha.
I've had a lot of fun heading up Alpha's mobile development efforts, and I've been doing this now, I think, 11 years. So pretty much since you first got started with it. And one of the first things that I remember thinking about as I got into mobile was, the incredible power of these mobile devices. It's sitting in your hand. It knows where it is. You have to really think about the whole platform in a different frame of mind, And one of the things that I first got involved with, I thought was fascinating, was the fact that, I could locate this device where it was, with lat long, and that to me was fascinating. And I wrote all kinds of cool code I did this one application where this guy wanted to know if a particular location or a home was within his pizza delivery area, but the pizza delivery area was not
question, Bob. It's an important question.
But the pizza delivery area was not just like a radius or a square. It was a complex polygon.
And
it was really, really fun. And I mean, the thing that was cool was I was able to do it. The geography.
If you're telling me that Alpha's got a Domino's checkbox now in the search property, I'm gonna freak. That would be so cool. Sponsored search checkboxes. That's what Alpha should be doing.
Oh, great. So let's
see. I mean, mobile devices are insane, aren't they? I mean, they're just insane, the power now. I mean, my new phone has got, I think it's got 8 gig of RAM, 128 gig of storage. It's got 3 cameras, which are probably as good as the SLRs I was using 10 years ago. It's insane. It's absolutely insane, the power of a.
It really is. And as a developer, when you start thinking about it, I mean, I got involved with computing when my first computer was a Z80 based, made by a company called Krememco, the S100 bus. It ran, I think I had 48K of RAM.
Yeah, very impressive.
160, it wasn't even megabytes, right? What was it? I think it was 160K. Single-sided floppy disk.
It's
we're
it is
dating
insane.
Ourselves here.
We are. We got to be careful. No, but in terms of bringing us back up to 2021, it's been able to develop for a mobile device and a laptop and a desktop and whatever is just in one product is very cool. It's a very, very cool environment. And the browser, I mean, when browser development started to happen, it was such a disappointing environment, wasn't it? It was so restricted in what it could do, but the implementation of standards across different browsers, the fact that Chrome is now really dominant, and so you've now got the new Microsoft Edge that's based on the same sort of engine. So so you can confidently develop now for a browser environment, whereas it was difficult at one point.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's still a really exciting environment to develop in, and having a product that can target lots of different environments is really very helpful indeed when you're trying to sell product.
Yeah, and I think looking ahead, you're always like, there's always new things happening. There's always new stuff, and I mean, that's something that excites me all the time. And I really keep my eye on what's going on out there. And of course, I'm always trying to push Alpha further and further and further, and try to push that down. So, and turn it into something that's easy to use. That's kind of like one of our mantras, is to say, okay, let's take something that's complex and try to make it as easy as possible to use for all of our developers.
Absolutely.
I wanted to just talk, and this is the last thing I want to talk about in our interview today, Robin, is deployment. We've got Alpha Cloud now. It's been an effort that has been ongoing now. I think there's about 5 years of effort into it at this point. And I think it's now gotten to the point where it's quite usable for deployment. Do you have any experience with Alpha Cloud? And
yeah, we absolutely have. Yeah, when I first saw it, I think it was at a DevCon. I didn't really understand the benefits that it would give us. But in truth, Bob, I think in the last 18 months, almost all of our products have been deployed to Alpha Cloud. So Alpha Cloud is now our default deployment environment. We still do deploy on-premise for customers, either on the classic app servers or on IaaS if they want us to. But for all of our products that we're sort of building for a general market and we sell out to the general public, we've just created a product called Alpha Legal, which has been on the market about 3 months. It's a product, a service, an online service for accountants and solicitors, lawyers, people like that. Yeah. Everything now is deployed to Alpha Cloud. The key benefits to us, I mean, first of all, I think you guys have done an amazing job with Alpha Cloud. It is so sophisticated, it's so reliable, it's so robust, it's so clever. And it's only actually, the more you do with it, it's one of those environments that I think that is such a clever idea, that's such a clever feature. But essentially what it gives us is this super easy deployment platform. It's, you know, we deploy with one click. Behind the scenes, it's handling a whole raft of complexity, which we just don't need to get involved with. But the sort of things that we can do that we would have found difficult before, and that we do almost every day now, things like delayed deployments. So we've got a client who's tested our system in a test environment and is happy for it to go live. We don't want it to go live during the day, it would disrupt any users. So we just delay the deployment until 11:30 tonight, and it just happens in 5 minutes at 11:30 when nobody's on the system anyway. Been able to roll back to different versions, any version. So any version that we've deployed, we can instantly roll back to. We can try deployments on different versions of the Alpha server software. So we can, you know, that, and so just like with changing a couple of drop downs and clicking a button without any republishing or hassle, that is so clever, so clever. Also the way it handles certificates, domains, you know, when you deploy in that environment, it looks just really professional. It looks so nice. And clients are just using it, you know, no problem at all. So yeah, Alpha Cloud, like I say, has become our default deployment environment. And the more we talk to clients, the more we're trying to get them to switch as well, because it's a hassle, you know, talking to a client server, getting through their firewall, having the right authority to do it, updating them. It's always difficult, you know, as you know. Yeah, and then for sure, yeah. Clients will tell us that they're backing up their server, and then they have a server failure, and what do you know, they haven't been backing up their server, and then we've got a whole reinstall job, and it's
we've all been there.
We've all been there, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we've got our biggest product, Bob, is still a product to do with asbestos that we've been selling for about 10 years.
I saw that on your website.
Yeah, I mean that's probably deployed on 100+ servers, probably 150 servers around the world in different countries.
Wow.
But all of that's, we wouldn't go down that route again. It's complex and it's expensive and it's difficult.
Yeah.
In the last 18 months, like I say, all of our new products have all been Alpha Cloud. It's just, you know, changed the game for us. It really has. It's an amazingly solid, reliable, clever, sophisticated, yet incredibly easy to deploy method. And that's really, I think, the essence of where Alpha comes from. It's doing all of the Alpha stuff is clever in the background, but is easy and quick from our point of view. And that's the essence of why we like working with Alpha, I guess.
And that's great. You know, I mean, I know Kurt Rayner will be very happy to hear all of this. He's put so much.
Knows he's a hero of ours. He's
put so much into that, and you know,
the size of a planet. That guy, for
his
sure.
level of experience is just amazing. You know, he's a great guy, and he really cares. So he'll be really happy to hear this. I'm for sure.
It'll be no surprise to him.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Robin, I want to thank you so much for spending the time with me here today, and just, you know, talking about all these, you know, these different things, and thanks so much.
No, it's a pleasure.
Take care now.
See ya.
Bye.